Hello, my loves. We are back. We're back after taking what was supposed to be 2, ended up being 3 weeks off after releasing 33 consecutive episodes. DKC, we took a little bit of a summer break over here. There was lots of traveling for inquiring minds. We kicked off our 3 weeks of travel with a really fun family trip, an annual trip that I do with my mom, my grandmother. It's so fun. I call her my granny goose. And if you do the math here, this is so special and so extraordinary. I have a very, very close relationship with my grandma. She has been a huge part of my life. And I have 3 kids. I have a 12-year-old, an almost 10-year-old, and a 3.5-year-old. They all get to go on vacation every year with their great-grandmother. They have an incredible relationship with their great-grandmother. And I think that is such a big deal. I don't know. In this day and age, I feel like I don't know a ton of people who can say that they've made some incredible memories and that their great grandmother was at this thing and this thing. So this trip is sacred for us. And if you really want the nitty gritty, we went to a little town called Solvang. If you know, you know. If you don't, you certainly don't. But it's the cutest little, forgive me if I botch this, it's like a Dutch town. You literally feel like my 12-year-old was like, I feel like we're in a time machine and we went back in time. It's so quaint and charming. And it's really funny because when I told a couple of people I was going to Solvang, people who know what it is, and it's, if you're curious, like if you're looking at a map, it's in Santa Barbara County. So it's like sort of coastal-ish. It's about 20 minutes inland, central to Southern California. And it's a kind of town where when you're on your way somewhere, if you're driving south to north or north to south in California, you like stop in and you get some Dutch bakery goods or ice cream. Most people don't spend a week there on vacation, but we did, and it was amazing, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. We got back, we were home. I was home for 4 days, and then I hopped on a plane to head to Boulder, Colorado. I've never been to Boulder except for this one time, for a work trip. It was really fun to have a grown-up, kid-free, professional work trip with other incredible women, sandwiched right in between 2 kid trips. You notice how I'm saying trips and not vacation? I once heard someone say that if you're a mom going away with your kids, it is not a vacation, right? It's a trip. And I don't mean to be negative, but it's so true. Sometimes being away from home with your kids is harder. It's actually most of the time, especially with a little one, is harder than just being home in your environment with all your things. So there were no real vacations had, but there were trips, there were adventures, there were travels. I had the opportunity to teach and co-lead 30 heart-centered spiritual entrepreneurs in Colorado. I came home and then less than 12 hours later, hopped in my husband's brand new truck. I got to be, one of my favorite things in the world is to be a passenger princess. And we drove from San Diego up to Tahoe for just a final week of travel before the kids went back to school. So there were so many little lessons, nuggets of wisdom, lots of fun things that I'll probably share with you later on. But I want to get into sort of the bones of what we're going to talk about today. And the bones of what we're going to talk about today are things that were woven into each of these trips, each of these adventures. And what we're going to talk about is daily practices that are simple, powerful, and life-changing. I love when something can be powerful, life-changing, but also really simple and not take a whole lot of time. And my hope is to share practices with you that feel like massive aha moments, like things that inspire you to say, I never thought of that. I want to try that. And here we are. This is going to be episode number 34. And with the work that I do around life coaching, business coaching, energy mastery, mindset, all spiritual principles, I've shared some things that may feel a little bit mainstream with my own twist on them. But today I'm going to share some things I have never heard anyone else teach on or talk about. They're things that I feel like genuinely came through my own intuitive faculties or something that I swear I heard God say, Dani, do this. And if you do this, you will thank me. So I'm going to pull up my notes as we dive in. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking about these life-changing, somewhat unexpected practices. So the very first one that I want to share with you, and this feels like a really big deal because this practice, it was a 365-day practice. Some of you might know what this is. It's so crazy to me. You're really probably only going to see the audio version of this, but I have a stack of three. Where's my fourth one? Oh, my fourth one is here because I'm still writing in it. But I have these 4 journals, and what I have here in my hands is 365 days worth of love letters. What do I mean by that? Every single day, minus, I'll out myself here. There was a season when I was super sick, and then at one point when I was traveling, I think over the 365 days, I missed a whopping 3 days, but we just kind of picked right back up. And so there were little breaks in there when it was absolutely necessary. But these love letters, to be really crystal clear, are letters that I was writing to myself from myself. And there's something really special and potent and full circle about this because today's podcast recording is being hosted with the women of Energy Expansion Academy. We do our EEA live podcast recordings with a live studio audience once a month. They're so much fun. I feel like these are extra high energy because I love being able to feed off of the women that I'm in community with. But when I say it's full circle, it was because this time last year, I lead something called an energy and mindset alignment session every single month for the women in EEA. And our August session last year was when I got this idea of writing these daily love letters. I was just noticing that my personal journey of growth and healing and expansion was one that I had done a lot of work around, work I was really proud of. And I feel like if we were to put self-love on a scale, I had worked my way up that scale, but I was also noticing this time last year all of the ways that I was being really hard on myself, all of the ways that I was my own, worst critic, my inner mean girl, and she serves a purpose. The inner critic does serve a purpose, but it was so loud that it was almost paralyzing. Let me know if you can relate. And so I thought to myself, what is one simple practice that I can commit to every single day? And you guys, I feel like I could get emotional about this because I think from the way that I present myself, and I want to say that I'm very authentic, but right, there are things that we do and ways that we present ourselves because we want to be perceived in a certain way. And in many ways, I am organized and I am tidy and I am consistent, but I'm consistent in the way, and there's nothing wrong with this. If you relate to this, you're not bad, you're not wrong, you're not broken. But I'm consistent in the way, I'll say I'm going to do something every single day, and then I'll do it for a week and then take a break, and then do it for 3 days and then take a break, and then do it for 5 days and then take a break, and then take a break for a week and pick it back up. You're not bad or wrong. But what I wanted for myself was can I actually keep this promise to myself? Marie Forleo, if you don't know her, she was a god in the coaching industry. Maybe she still is. But when I first got started, she had a YouTube show and I would watch it every single Tuesday as I was in my little baby Dani as a business owner phase. And she says, to be responsible, keep your promises to others. To be successful, keep your promises to yourself. To be successful, keep the promises that you make to yourself, keep those ones. And I had known myself as someone who was pretty consistent, but I was like, if there's ever anything that I'm going to really hold my buns to the fire with, it's going to be these daily love letters. And I freaking did. And so it's really super simple. And one of the reasons why I was inspired to write this podcast episode was because we just crossed the finish line of the 365 days, 1 week ago, less than a week ago. And I shared about it on my Instagram, and a handful of people were like, wait, what have you been doing? And a lot of women were like, I think that I'm meant to do that. Dani, you're inspiring me to do that. And so again, this hopefully is an unheard of and unexpected practice because no one told me to do this. I've never seen anyone talk about this. I just got the inspired download while I was in community with my favorite group of women a year ago, and I ran with it. And so I want to share a couple of things with you. I'm going to grab my first ever, it started with the smiley faces, the checkers. This is very much like this journal I would ping that my fourth grader, like this is what she would have. No, but it's mine. I bought it for me, not for her. So this was the first one. So number 1, our first letter, Dear Dani, you are my absolute favorite person on the planet. I love the way you love your people. I love your pure heart. I love how fun and silly you are. I love how much and how deeply you care about others and how much you want to see every single woman in your life win. I love the way you think, how you see the good in everyone and the good in everything. I love how when life has given you every reason to give up, you have kept going, getting better and stronger every day. You, my love, are extraordinary. You are one in a gazillion. You are magic. Never forget that. I love you so much. You've got this and I've got you. So I wanted to share a little insight there because you might be thinking, oh my gosh, Dani, I want to do this. I want to do this too. But like, what do you write to yourself? You write loving things to yourself. Day 40, Dear Dani, you're thriving. You're pulsing with prosperity. Ooh, pulsing with prosperity. Yes, I like that. Overflow. You have been all along. There was a moment of forgetting, and that's okay because you have a way of remembering. You always remember. You remember who you are, how powerful you are, why you're here. The remembering is what you're here to help others do. I just typed that somewhere like last night. Where did I type that? All right, love, real quick pause because I have to tell you about something that is truly life-changing. If you've been in my world for any amount of time, then there is a 99.9% chance that you have heard me talk about Energy Expansion Academy, which is my signature group coaching program where I teach the exact tools, rituals, mindset shifts that helped me create a life that goes beyond my wildest dreams and has transformed the lives of hundreds of women that I've had the honor of serving. And for the first time ever, it is now available as a self-paced experience. That means you get to move through this powerful transformation on your own terms, in your own timing, and in full alignment with your life. This is for the woman who's ready to shift her energy, elevate her mindset, and finally become the most confident, fulfilled, and successful version of herself. Without the hustle, without the overwhelm, and without the second guessing. If you've been feeling the nudge to join us inside of EEA, then this, my love, is your sign. You'll find the link in the show notes or just DM me EEA on Instagram and I'll personally send it your way. Now, let's get back to the episode that you came for. I typed it this morning in a post. Go check it out. It's about you being the magic. Let's see, to remember their divine nature, their divine truths, to help them come back home to themselves. You're doing it exactly right. I love you so damn much. And then where's our final? Let me share just the last one. So we shared the first one, we shared the 40th one, and the last love letter. And again, for inquiring minds, I'm still journaling. They're just not daily love letters anymore. It's like whatever's on my heart, whatever I want to write about, I'm writing about, but sticking with this daily journaling practice feels important to me. Our last love letter from just last week. Dani, babe, I'm speechless. Take it in. Your commitment and devotion is unmatched. I see you. Your magic, your brilliance, your depth, your desires, your humor, your childlike wonder, all of it. I am madly in love with every ounce of you, every fiber of your being. I am so grateful that I get to be you. There is literally no one else I'd want to be. I would choose you in every lifetime, again and again, forever and ever. The end. The end. That is the end. That's the final chapter of my 365-page chapter book called Daily Love Letters. And so if you're craving a little bit of extra love for yourself, that is going to be a really big one. This morning inside of EEA, I pulled a card. I do an intuitive card pull most weeks. And the relationship card was what came up today. And the point of the relationship card is the reminder that the most important relationship that you have is with yourself and with your creator. And if other relationships in your life are not working, it's simply an invitation to just hold up the mirror and look at how can you love yourself a little bit more? What gets to change in here? Not because you're bad, broken, or you need to fix something, but there's something inside of you that is craving your love and your attention, right? So number one, daily love letters. Number two, oh, this is one of my favorite things, and it's so simple, but keeping a list of daily miracles, totally game-changing. This is something that one of my favorite energy healers of all time, shout out to the one and only Jackie Beam. Jackie, I'm gonna make sure you get this podcast. And I share that because a lot of people who are in my community know Jackie because I'm such a fan and an advocate of her work that I'll often bring her in or talk about her or reference her work. It's so ridiculously simple and it's so ridiculously powerful. But I got this idea from Jackie many, many years ago. We were doing some sort of an energy healing workshop, and she was like, okay, your one job is to get a piece of paper, and every single day, I want you to write down the miracles. And I could sense the power in it in that moment. But when I actually did it, it was absolutely mind-blowing because, fam, when you are actively seeking miracles all day, every day, do you know what you find? You find miracles all day, every day. This practice changes your life. And I have to, full admission here, I'm never going to ask you to do something that I don't do. I do this. I don't do it every single day, though, because I've spent so much of the last 5 or 6 years since being introduced to this practice. I'll go through months where I'll do it for a month, and then it just becomes natural. It's the way that my mind operates. But one of the reasons I wanted to share it with you today is because I was having a one-on-one session with one of my incredible DKC clients recently. And I nonchalantly talked about miracles are happening all day, every day in your life, in your favor. And she was like, do you really think that? And I was like, yeah. And this is not some rainbow fairy dust. Hell, maybe it is rainbow. What's wrong with rainbow fairy dust? Yeah. It is. It's real. It's not I'm not blowing smoke up your bum. I believe that this is fact, that this is truth with a capital T. And so I was like, if you don't believe me, I challenged her. I was like, I want you to make a list of weekly miracles and I want you to screenshot them to me. And she has been. And guess whose life is changing in the most, even if it was subtle shifts here and there, that's a miracle, my friends. But the things that are happening to her are phenomenal. The wins, the opportunities, the hey, can I fly you across the country and book a photo shoot for you? You just get on the plane and I'll take care of everything else. Yes, please. A level of connection and depth with our partners that we've been with for almost 20 years that we didn't even know was possible. Sign me the heck up. Your kids taking an interest in your life and speaking up and letting you into their minds and in their hearts when they're teenage years. What? Yes, please. More, please. So making a list of daily miracles is huge. And I've said this a lot recently inside of Energy Expansion Academy. I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast, though, so I've got to say it here. This reminds me of something that I had journaled about and then taught about many, many years ago in a free workshop. And it was God. God was like, you need to tell the people this. And here's what God said. It takes an act of rebellion to see the good and beautiful things in the world. Be the rebel. We live in a world where there's so much division and so many things working against us. I feel like there's a war on happiness. There's a war on joy. There are people trying to actively make you forget how freaking magical you are and how incredible this blessing, this gift of a life is. And it's our job to employ tools like this to help us get back on track. And the last thing before we go to the next one is miracle, the definition of a miracle. Feel free to define a miracle for yourself. But I think that sometimes people can think, coming from my background, sort of my upbringing around spirituality and religion, when I think of miracles, it's all has to do with Jesus. I just went live today and talked about Jesus. So Jesus is really, the energy of Jesus is here now. But walking on water, parting the sea, that was not Jesus, that was Moses. just to be biblically correct, but like, you know, someone who couldn't walk now can jump. Someone who couldn't see now has sight, right? And so I think that sometimes, depending on your upbringing or your relationship to miracles, you think a miracle is like a once in a lifetime, maybe something fantastic will happen. That's not actually how I see a miracle inside of, I'm going to say miracles more in 60 seconds than I've ever thought I'd ever say. There is a text called A Course in Miracles. And inside of A Course in Miracles, I actually have it on right behind my desk. I have some of the most life-changing textbooks that I've ever had my hands on, and A Course in Miracles is one of them. Inside of A Course in Miracles, the definition of a miracle, I love this for us because this makes it so simple. It's a shift from fear to love. A miracle is a shift from fear to love. When you can shift your perspective, when you can look at something differently, when you can approach yourself, any relationship, any circumstance in your life, it's like when something really terrible is happening and you have this aha moment, and sometimes it's hard to see it in it, but like, you know, you're a few degrees away and you can look back and you're like, thank you. Thank you, God, universe, spirit, whoever's hand was on me and my life. What I thought was heartache or tragedy was a miracle that was so good and perfect, like I couldn't have even scripted it or dreamt it or knew to write it down in my journal, right? So that's there. Number 3, this is relatively new, but the more I've been talking about this, I'm getting so many questions. I'm so happy. You guys, the pod squad, you're going to get this. I feel like I've been talking about having a breakdown in my health for a little while and feeling like frustrated and feeling confused and feeling tired and fatigued and heavy and like a heaviness in my physical body, but then also realizing that what's happening in our physical body is connected to what's happening underneath, right? What's happening in our emotional body, our energetic body, it's all connected. And some of you are going to be like, I could have told you that, dummy. You can say that because that's how I felt. But I was doing all the things that had worked for me in the past, like the first 6 months of this year, like tracking macros, eating healthier, trying to cut out sweets, working out more than ever before. And I'm not saying that those things are bad. I'm actually not going to stop doing any of those things. But that was how every other time in my 38 years, that worked for like 36 years. Those things have not worked for the last 2 years. Those were like the levers I would pull to get the results I wanted to, like, quote unquote, lose weight. And I was with a dear friend of mine a couple weeks ago in Colorado, Jolie. You may know who that is. If you don't, you'll know now. But she's been on this journey. She's been dating this guy who is in impeccable health. Like the composition of his body, you imagine like a Greek god or something. Like you imagine the movie 300, right? Is that the one with Gerard Butler and like everyone's all chiseled and they have it? Like his name's Michael. Michael's body is like that. And he is dedicated. He has like next level devotion and all of this is spiritual for him. So Jolie and Michael have put together this challenge. And because I'm on Jolie's team, she's like, I want you to do this with me. Come on in. So me and my husband are doing it together. And all of this being said, I was in person with Jolie. I'm not a doctor. I'm not prescribing anything, but this is going to be for some of you because what I've talked about on the podcast, a lot of you are like, oh my God, me too. Like, what's going on? And Jolie looked at me and was like, babe, everything you're experiencing is inflammation. It's all inflammation. Like you're consuming things, you're putting things in your body that your body doesn't know how to do with. And then it's like storing it in weird places and in weird ways. And I was like, oh, I'm not eating too many sweets. It's not chubby, right? And she was like, no, this is what the puffiness is. And so I had not put 2 and 2 together. I'm not a nutrition coach. I'm very good at what I do. I'm a coach, but nothing to do with nutrition. And so we had this conversation. And a few weeks later, which happened to be last week, we start this Healthy, Wealthy, Thrive challenge. You guys, I have lost 3 pounds of inflammation. I've literally changed nothing else except number 3 here on these life-changing practices I'm going to share with you. I'm calling it my happy morning trio. And I'm going to say these things and you're going to be like, oh, I know I tried that because I tried these things before. I just got off the phone with one of my best friends in the whole wide world who's very health conscious. She's like a crunchy mom. That's why I'm halfway crunchy. She's more crunchy than me. If I need crunchy advice, I call her. But she was like, oh yeah, I've tried those things separately, but never in that order. So what I've been doing the last week, and I've felt such a difference. And if you're here live with me, maybe you can see a difference a little bit in my energy, maybe in my complexion. I met with a friend today. She's like, you look a little different. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing things a little different. So really quickly, some of you know this. Again, just going to preface this, but you got to do it in this order if you're going to do it. I'm starting every single morning with warm water with an entire lemon squeezed in and Malden sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon Malden sea salt. Okay, number one. You can go back and listen to this, rewind it if you need to. And then number two, this is going to be the sticking point for some people. Fresh celery juice. Why is this the sticking point for some people? Because you might not like celery or you might not have a juicer, one or the other or both. I feel very blessed that a version of Dani who likes the gimmicks, this is not a gimmick, but purchased a juicer a really long time and haven't used it in years. I was like, let me dust this bad boy off. And it's front and center on my counter. So I juice celery at night for my husband before we go to bed. It's better if you're going to juice it at home to juice it and drink it right away. My husband wakes up at 3 a.m. I'm not waking up to juice celery at 3 a.m. Sorry, love you, not that much, right? So I juice it right before bed. I put it in the fridge. So lemon water with salt, Malden sea salt, got to be the Malden sea salt. I'll link you. I'll give you all these links. I'll throw these links at you. The celery juice, and then this really lovely adaptogen tea. And it has to be done in that order. I've danced around with the lemon water once and I did the celery over here, but there's this like compound effect. And so these things paired with a vibrating plate is moving. You guys know anything about the lymphatic system? I don't know. I didn't know much about this. I was trying to address feeling chubby in my leggings. What I was not addressing was what was happening with my lymphatic system. Holy shift, fam. This is huge. So that's my happy trio. I'm not a doctor, but I'm learning this. I want to give them credit. Jolie and Michael, the Healthy, Wealthy, Thrive Challenge. Thank the Lord, something is working. So feel free to apply those. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong or anything harmful with having some celery and some lemon and some tea in the morning. The last thing that I want to share with you before we wrap up is another journaling practice. The last thing is the importance of creating time to hear yourself and to hear the voice of Creator, God, universe, spirit. That is the last thing I want to share with you. And there's so many different ways you can do this. I was leading our energy and mindset alignment call for EEA last week. And one of the things that I had asked the women to consider is like, what is one way that they can show themselves more love? Like really, truly love on themselves. What is something that they feel like their spirit, their intuition, their mind, their body is begging them to do? And one of the women in our community was like, it's so simple. I just got to meditate. I just got to get quiet. Like I got to sit down, I got to slow down, and I got to listen. And it's simple, but it's not easy. I'll never forget the first time I heard that distinction. Just because it's simple does not mean it's easy, right? And there's something so sneaky, fam, because I struggle with this. When you know something is good for you and you should do it, there's extra resistance towards making it happen, especially if you're in a season of life where you're at the precipice of like breakthrough, of expansion. Right? It's like these patterns of self-sabotage. It's like, yeah, I know you think you should drink the lemon water, but drink coffee first instead. And then a month goes by and your gut lining is wrecked and you feel like crap, right? So this last one is finding time and finding fun, creative, nourishing ways that excite you. Because if you can't get even a little bit excited about meditation, you're probably not going to do it. But that's not the only way to hear yourself and or to hear spirit. Okay. So one of the things I was going to share with you is a practice that I've taught inside of EEA before, but I don't think I've ever shared it on the podcast. And it's so simple. And I'm leaning, now that the daily love letters are complete and I'm playing with having a daily journaling practice, it looks different from day to day, but this is one that I've been doing. It's called Desires and Divine Guidance. And it literally is directly inviting you into what I'm asking you to do right now. You'll ideally have, you could do this on the same page, but ideally you'll have 2 blank pages. On one side, you'll write desires and you'll set a timer and you'll write down all the things you can desire. Like, that actually feels really stretchy because I've noticed over my more than a decade in this industry, if you ask a woman, like dead in her eyes, what does she want? For some reason, that can be a really confronting question for us, right? Maybe we genuinely don't know what we want because we haven't had a minute to stop and think about it. Maybe deep down we actually do know what we want, but we don't feel like there's permission to say it out loud. We don't feel like we're worthy of claiming it, right? And so that even just writing out your desires can be a stretch. And then this is where the divine guidance part comes in. This is where the connection to spirit comes in, is I actually literally like to put my hands over my desires and say, okay, God, that's what I call it whatever you want. Okay, God, what do you want me to know about this? God, universe, spirit, guides, ancestors. I've been told by every psychic medium that I've ever gone to that Mother Mary is like hovering over one of my shoulders. She's one of my guides in this lifetime. She's a guide to many people in this lifetime. Be like, okay, Mother Mary, what are we doing, Mama? You tell me, what do you want me to know about these desires? Are these desires that you have for me? And if they are, who do I need to be? Where do I need to go? What do I need to do? Who do I need to speak to, right? So that's one. So meditation is one. Desires and divine guidance is another one. Another really beautiful way to get inside of your own ear. This is going to be stretchy for some of you. You can take a moment to think about all of the things you desire. I actually have a script for the women in EEA who are here live right now. I'm like, I hope you all know that you have this. A script of fill in the blanks almost of crafting your ideal day in a way that you can do a self-recorded meditation. I have a DKC, a Dani, future self activation. That is one way. Before I put in anything or anyone else, I literally pop in my headphones and I hear my own voice reminding me of the vision, reminding me of what we're up to. So doing something like that where you can even hear your own voice first thing in the morning. I don't know the full science behind it, but I know it's scientific around the first 30 minutes of waking up and what's happening with your brain waves, and your subconscious mind is way more susceptible to receiving what you want to feed it. So for the love of everything, feed it something really, really good. Those are the things that I wanted to share with you today. I'm so excited. I hope this feels like a Rider Downer episode. I hope you wrote some things down. And as always, I freaking love hearing from you. On Wednesdays, when our episodes go live, I got my DMs and I'm clicking my fingernails, waiting for people to tell me. And there's a handful of you who you're like, oh, I listened. Here's what I want you to know. So feel free to let me know what this stirred up for you. Please share this with your people. If there's someone in your life who would benefit from this, dig into that. And I'm so happy to be a part of your journey. If there's anything you're craving support around when it comes to these different things that we talked about today, these different practices, reach out to me. I'm so here for you. Little shameless plug. I have a program called Momentum, the 4-week experience. And as I was creating today's episode, I kept thinking about Momentum, the 4-week experience. So inside of Momentum, it's all about these little practices that we can do every single day to move the needle forward in a way that feels fun, simple, and dare I say, easy. And so if you're like, you know what, Dani, if you're anything like me, the kids are back to school, you might be craving a little switcheroo in your routines and how you're showing up for you and how you're showing up for your people. And Momentum, the 4-week experience could be such a beautiful addition to jumpstart what it is that you're wanting in the direction that you want to move in. So feel free to DM me the word momentum. I will also have the link to that in the show notes as well if you want to check that out. So I love you so much and we'll see you next week.